We move over here to our Seattle Storm, who, we had the draft a little bit ago, and now we have the training camp roster. So the Storm began training camp a few days ago. No, yesterday, pardon me. Sunday, the 30th. And it's a very new look roster. We've talked about it over the course of the offseason. But again, we've got a lot of this positivity in today's episode. A lot of, the Seahawks got the draft and that Sunday game off the Mariners, trying to ride off of that, the Kraken moving on. I still want to be very positive about the Storm because I believe that there's a lot of talent in this roster that's looking to establish themselves, right? It's very much the underdog sort of thing. I've got something to prove. I've got a chip on my shoulder. I've got doubters sort of thing. So I think that's the case. Again, they're not going to be a contender, I don't think. But I still think they're going to be able to win some games. So we're going to look at this roster here. Obviously, Kia Nurse, who was signed in the offseason. Kaya Charles, Jade Melbourne, the young point guard that Seattle drafted last year. She played another season in Australia, and now they're bringing her over. Maddie Williams, Seattle's second pick in the draft. Arella Garantes. Let me make sure I got the pronunciation correctly. We've got a pronunciation board here, thankfully. Rella Garantes. Yes, good. Dulcie Fankum. We're going to make sure we get this right. Dulcie Fankum Mengiadu. So for you that are trying to learn the names of the Storm, Seattle's third pick in the draft out of USF, Dulcie Fankum Mengiadu. We've got Ezzy Magbagor on the roster, so obviously likely the starting center. We've got Ivana Dojkic, yes. Mercedes Russell, hoping to get her back after not having Mercedes outside of a few times last season, with those recurring head injuries. Yvonne Turner, Jordan Horston, Jewel Lloyd. Let's see if Lovell pronounces her name different. Nope, Jade Lovell. Sammy Whitcomb out of the University of Washington, so proud. I'll go with the UW hat. Proud for Sammy there to have her back on the roster. Jasmine Walker, and then Teresa Plaisance. Teresa Plaisance. So it's an interesting makeup. You've got Nurse, Melbourne at the guard there. Yvonne Turner's going to push. Sammy Whitcomb probably coming off the bench, I would imagine, at like the six role. But Dojkic is interesting as well because she put up some great numbers over in Europe. Jewel Lloyd's obviously the best player on this team. So it'd be fun to see. I'm trying to think now, though, of where we go with like a starting five, because I'd like to see Horston in there. Horston can play forward. So, I mean, with the true point guard like Melbourne, maybe Dojkic gets a start there, considering she's more of a veteran in that sort of instance. Well, they're not too far. Oh, yeah, they are. Melbourne, Lloyd, Horston. Who do you put at the 4, though? Maybe Jasmine Charles, Walker or Charles. But obviously Magbagor starting. It'll be fun to see the way that head coach Noel Quinn and this coaching staff figure out this roster and starting 5. There are obviously going to be some rookies on this team as opposed to the last few years, or last year, actually, because Keanu Williams was on the roster. I don't know. But it'll be really interesting, again, to see this Storm team because they've got a lot. There's a lot going against them. They lost Brianna Stewart. Subird retired. Jewel Lloyd only has 1 year left on her contract here in Seattle. So, again, I do think, though, that this Storm team has a lot to prove and can do some damage. I think they've got a lot of chips on their shoulders, and I always love to bet for the underdog. So that's where I'm going to go with the Storm team and hope that that's the case. But we've got training camp. We've got dates available for training camp, so expect coverage there from us for training camp as that continues. Make sure you follow us on the socials, to make sure that you get all of that outside of just obviously our weekly Circling Salesforce on Converge episodes.